Hello citizens, this is Jim with JP Reacts, where you come to see a former candidate tell you how to think like a politician so you know what they mean by what they say and what they don't say. Today we're going to be covering the President's American Rescue Plan as it heads through the final phases in Congress. If you're interested in that, stay tuned after this. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the President's American Rescue Plan, which is the COVID relief bill, and or otherwise known as the stimulus checks. You may have noticed I am wearing a very fancy new t-shirt with my logo on it. I do have a Teespring store, which is linked below if you're interested. If not, we'll just jump right into this. Basically, this is from Bloomberg News, is talking about what's in the bill, and we'll try to provide some additional context around it as we move through this. So let's listen in.
Looks like the Biden team is on the verge of a pretty solid victory here.
It really does look like that, and I think if you ask the Biden team, they may say that the winner's less the Biden team than many of the American public with this legislation squeaked through the Senate yesterday as we expected.
So let's take a look at what's in this bill right now. So basically, there has been a lot of stuff that's been put into the bill. So you got $510 million for disaster assistance, $8.5 billion for rural hospitals. Rural hospitals have been hit really hard by this pandemic. They were in trouble before this because many rural hospitals are in areas that didn't expand Medicaid from Obamacare, so they've been hurt just going into this pandemic by their states not expanding Medicaid, but this has really hurt them as well. $200 million increase for Amtrak, $750 help for tourism, and then state and local fund allocation. So a lot of times we see these things and we're like, well, why is this COVID relief? What does this have to do with COVID relief? All these places take money, and it takes money to operate, which means there's jobs involved there. So all these places, Amtrak, tourism, those have all been hit hard by the COVID and the fact that the economy has been shut down around the world, and they need the money to help pay their workers and keep their operations running so that we don't have further layoffs. So that's why there's always funding put aside for these types of things.
Democratic vote, and we're looking now for the House to take this legislation up again on Tuesday. There's been some changes since the House passed it earlier in the month, so now it goes back to the House. And we have heard from progressives that even though some of their wish list was whittled away, that they're happy with it and that they're going to vote for it. So
I just want to explain this, just so everybody's clear. The way it works is both houses of Congress need to pass the exact same bill. And so earlier this month, the House had passed the bill and sent it over to the Senate. Now the Senate has passed its own bill, which is slightly different than the House bill. So what the House is going to have to do is either they're going to have to come together and put together a whole new bill together, or the House needs to pass the bill that the Senate passed. Because before it can go to the President, that bills from both sides of Congress have to match up exactly, word for word. So that's why the House has to vote again, and it sounds like they're going to vote for it on Tuesday.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it's good to remember that the horse trading was basically between Democrats. There was very little horse trading with Republicans because they just didn't support the legislation. But we will get the $1,400 direct stimulus checks to most Americans up to a limit of $75,000 in annual income. So that's a very big one. Extended unemployment benefits, which I believe goes through September. That's a pretty key one too. And there's money for vaccine distribution. There's money for state and local governments. There's a lot in here, and Republicans.
So yeah, so all these different things are going in. So what does it mean for most people? Is most people up to an income of $75,000 for single people and $150 for married are going to get payments of $1,400, which is going to complete the $2,000 that everybody agreed on prior to the election should have been given. The extended unemployment, the extra $300 on top of whatever unemployment they got, because that was going to run out on sometime this month. It's running out. And then they're giving a little bit more additional money for health insurance subsidies through Obamacare and increasing the amount that the federal government's covering for the states that expanded Medicaid to help pay for those costs, especially associated with a public health crisis. Those costs will obviously have gone up. Then state, local governments need relief. They've been hit hard by not having the tax revenue that they were having in the past, and this is for all states, red states and blue states. And the reason they need this is because we don't want to see a big layoff of teachers, police, fire, health care workers, all the different types of people that work for state and local governments. So they needed help, and then obviously they needed some additional money for vaccination programs, because we really want to make sure everybody gets the vaccine and that everybody has the opportunity to get it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So that's big news.
That especially since a lot of the money in the bill will not be paid out until well beyond this year, that it was less a coronavirus sort of emergency stimulus bill and more of a Democratic wish list bill. So that sort of depends on what side of the aisle you're on. But there's
Yeah, so I've heard this before where they go, it's a Democratic wish list. This is all relief. I know it's going to take time for a lot of this money to go out, but state, local governments need the help. These other places needed the money to fund operations. Any money that we pay towards these organizations pay for people to work. That's the long and short of it. That's why the money is being allocated. It's not just to, oh, Democrats want to fund something fancy, right? This is to pay people to work. And right now we can't afford anybody else being out of work, right? So this wish list is a nonsense claim as far as I'm concerned.
Tremendous amount of money in there, right across the board. There were a few things that were added right at the last minute. Lisa Murkowski, the Republican from Alaska, although she didn't vote for the bill, was instrumental in getting an amendment to specifically aim some money at children in homeless shelters. So a little bit for everybody, really.
So that basically covers the COVID relief bill, the stimulus bill. There's a lot that's in it outside of it. I know they mentioned at the end there that the children homeless will be getting it, which is a big deal. Those people need money too, because the COVID has really hurt the organizations that have traditionally provided services to them. And then there's also money in there for support for airlines, because obviously they've been hit hard again. And basically that money is contingent on them not laying off anybody over the next, I think, for most of the year. And then the only thing that didn't get through that was pretty important, especially the Democrats, but it's pretty important across the board, was a raising of the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That did not happen. I know I did a quick take on the minimum wage, but that did not get included in this COVID relief bill, unfortunately. But hopefully down in the future we can get something like that passed, because workers definitely need a raise. So hopefully you got a lot of good information on this. I was able to provide additional context. If you did, please like this video below. Again, and if in the comments below, please tell me what you think is going to have the most impact. Which part of this bill is going to have the most impact on helping Americans get out from underneath this pandemic? I look forward to reading those and commenting along. But until I see you around the internet, you have a great night. Bye.